Welcome to Creekside Chats with Successful Real Estate Investors, brought to you by Steed Talker Capital, promoting prosperity and harmony to help you flourish in all areas of life. Join in as we explore the motivations and goals of real estate investors and how their ability to invest abundantly has provided them with the time and freedom to contribute to the world in a creative and thoughtful way. Now please welcome your host, Dr. Allen.
Enlightened investors, happy to be back with you today. Dr. Allen here with Marco Santarelli. Marco is an investor, author, Inc. 5000 entrepreneur, and the founder of Norada Real Estate Investments, a nationwide provider of turnkey cash flow investment property. His mission is to help 1 million people create wealth and passive income and put them on the path to financial freedom with real estate. He's also the host of the top-rated podcast, Passive Real Estate Investing. Welcome, Marco.
It's an honor to be back on the show. I was just saying before you hit the record button, this feels like deja vu because we were just doing this not long ago.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago, but I'm so glad to have you back on. Pleased that you were willing to come back on. Let's find out a little bit more about Marco. Just to fill you all in who are just tuning into the show, Marco is actually Canadian turned U.S. citizen, now living in, I think, is it San Diego? It's Southern California somewhere.
Oh, you're very close. It's just an hour north of San Diego in Orange County.
Marco has been investing in real estate for quite some time. He started as a very young man, started out small, has developed quite a portfolio over the last several years. So, Marco, what I'd like to find out is, as a young man, you were quite disciplined and you took some major steps in developing your portfolio, and you developed it step by step by step, which is a smart way to do that. And one day you found out the way to scale was really to go with syndication, and then now finally you have really focused your attention on passive real estate investing. The question I want to start off with here is, your life has transitioned considerably from a young man who came from a lower middle class family to a person who has experienced a tremendous financial success. So talk about the transition, how you are different now than you were as a struggling young man. In other words, what has financial wealth brought to your life other than just money?
Right. Yeah. No, that's a great question and you actually pointed out something very important when you say other than just money, because for a lot of people who are aspiring to be successful investors or successful entrepreneurs, they're hyper-focused on money as if it's the be-all, end-all. And it's really not the destination. It is just a tool, a vehicle to help you achieve the things you really want to achieve. Money will bring out more of the person you are. It's just kind of like alcohol. You know, some people get very happy when they are drunk, and some people get very, bitter, angry, or even violent when they're drunk. And the thing is money's the same thing. It brings more of the person who you really are out. So if you're a generous person, it'll make you more of a generous person. It'll allow you to do those things. So that's actually one thing I did notice, that as things became, I'm not going to say necessarily easier, but as success seemed to grow and then mushroom, I started to contribute more to other people. I took the time to stop and help, stop and teach, stop and mentor other people. And then I started to grow and scale the business to train my own team of people to do the exact same thing. I call them investment counselors. So now there's 6 of them that are doing what I was doing back in 2003, 2004 from Southern California, all across the country, investing in real estate. I was making the mistakes. Now we're teaching people how to avoid those mistakes. So you pass that knowledge or that wisdom on. But the money thing is that, as you become more successful, you start to look around and your real purpose starts to come out. if you don't have the financial freedom, if you don't have the money, if you don't have the time to do the things you would really love to do, be it, help the needy, help the poor, help at church, train and educate people, you're stuck. You got one hand or two hands tied behind your back because you don't have the resources or the time to actually go out and do that stuff. Mm-hmm. But when you become more successful, more financially free, and this is true for a lot of people. Like if you look around at people who are successful, who've become either rich or wealthy, whatever you want to call it, they have foundations, they have contributions, they do put themselves out there for time and voluntary work and whatever it may be. Not everybody, but a lot of people. And so I guess that's a long answer to your question. Ultimately, it allows you to find your purpose, fulfill your purpose, and provide that value to the world. And for the people who do, have a mission and have a purpose and do well at it, it leaves a legacy, not just for you and your name, but your family and for all the people that you touch or affect. And I have a mission. I don't know if I mentioned it on the other show. Honestly, I don't remember what I said on the previous episode with you. There was so much there, and feels like it was so long ago. But as I said, my mission is to help 1 million people create wealth and passive income by putting them on the path to financial freedom with real estate. I mean, that is very specific, and I spent a lot of time thinking about exactly what that mission is. I could almost replace the word real estate now with, or even just drop it. It's just put them on the path to financial freedom, because it doesn't have to be real estate all the time. It could be being an entrepreneur and starting your own business. If I can inspire someone to just follow their dream and their passion and do something where they find a problem in the world and they have a solution to fix that problem, and they can do it on scale, like en masse, where they reach a lot of people and solve a lot of problems, guess what? They're going to be financially free. They're going to be financially independent. It doesn't have to be real estate. But now they've won twice, because now they're financially free because of their business, the income, but now they can turn that into real estate investments or other investments. And so now they're storing and creating wealth with their real estate in addition to a successful business, and fulfilling a purpose at the same time, be it solving a problem or whatever it may be. So everything grows.
Let's explore another aspect here of the transformation. So when you were a struggling young man, you were an employee. Today, you're not an employee. You have your own business, and essentially what you have done is you have taken your income and you put your money to work for you, so that essentially your money is working for you rather than you working for money. Nonetheless, you work hard. I know you do, because you've got a podcast and you've got a training program and so on and so forth. So you have a business, but you're not working for money in terms of your investments. Your investments are working for you to give you the kind of lifestyle you want. So going from an employee to the aspect of having your money work for you rather than you work for money, how has that transformed you as a person?
Well, it's a lot of what I was just talking about, because when you get to the point of being able to turn the active income, I mean, this is the secret to financial freedom. This is the secret to financial independence, is to convert your active income into passive income. When you can take your dividend and earned income, well, not so much dividend income, but when you can take your active income, earned income, and convert it into passive and dividend income, that's when you really set yourself free. So now at this point, you are now buying yourself a lot of free time. And now you can take that time to pursue what I was talking about before, the passions that you want to do. If it's spend it with your family, you spend it with your family. If it's helping your church or creating a new foundation or whatever it is. I mean, just fulfilling your passion. If your passion is to be an entrepreneur and to create a successful business, or maybe like be a multifamily syndicator, great. Do that. If you love it, you enjoy it, and guess what? You're helping other people. That's ultimately what you want to do. So, I'm kind of not answering your question in a way. The thing is at some point in time, there's a tipping point. You realize that you've gotten to a point where you are making enough income passively, where I could sleep in the morning. I don't have to hit the alarm clock. that you realize, I've spent a lot of time and work and put energy into creating what I ultimately wanted to create, which was that time freedom through financial independence, that now I can start to do some of the things I've wanted to do for a long time. And this happens to a lot of people because they spend the time to invest and create the passive income. It starts off slow, and then like a snowball, it starts to accelerate as you keep the momentum behind it. Because one home becomes two becomes three and four becomes, a fourplex and 4 single families. And sometimes people scale into multifamily and they start to do bigger and bigger projects. There's a tipping point in there where you realize that, oh, now I have $4,000 a month coming in as passive income, and my monthly nut is $4,000. It's like, okay, I think I've reached that tipping point where now anything more that I do is a net positive. I'm actually financially free. So, Alan, I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but it's that point in time when you realize, oh, I hit that breaking point, that tipping point where now I make more than what I spend, and I don't have to worry about having to work. Work is now a choice, not a necessity. It's a good feeling.
Mm-hmm. When did you realize that you had hit that tipping point? You probably didn't realize it at the time, but as you look back on it, you can go, yeah, that was the tipping point.
Yeah, it was around 2004-ish, around 2004. But it was a rocky road because it's one of those things where you kind of hit it and then you bounce back down, kind of like in the stock market. You see stocks do this. It's not like a straight line. Your success is never a straight line. It's never a straight path. You have success and you get, kicked in the gut. You're knocked down. You go back up a little bit and you get pulled back a little bit for whatever reasons. Be it, a property manager ripping you off and stealing money from you, or, just you have multiple tenants leaving your properties at the same time. And now, you have a slow, long delayed vacancy that takes a while to fill. And so, your cash flow for that month or the next 2 months is gone. You're having to pay the mortgage. Plus, there's the cost to lease up that unit because the property management company is going to take the first half to full month's rent the first month they lease it up. So when you're building your portfolio and you have that zigzag going on, you don't necessarily break free when you break that break-even point. It's kind of like you make it and you're pulled back, and you make it again and you're pulled back, and you get to the point where you start to zigzag in an upward trend, kind of like what you see hypothetically with the stock market, right? That you get to a point where the zigzags don't bother you anymore. That is the actual point of where you realize, okay, now I am free. I realize there's going to be bumps in the roads. There's going to be pullbacks. I'll have good months and bad months, but bad months, I still can make it through and I survive, and I'm not worrying about the bad months. And, I'm at that point now. I have, I've been ripped off. I have 2 lawsuits going on with 2 contractors that have stolen money from me to the tune of $40,000 with one guy and 20 some plus with another, plus the cost of the attorneys. And I'm bothered by it, but I'm not sweating over it and losing sleep. I know that it'll get resolved, and it'll probably take 3 to 6 months. And I'm hoping that I get my money back. But those financial setbacks they're there, but they're kind of overshadowed by the positive, all the positive stuff going on. So life goes on. The more successful there are, everybody has money problems. They say, you either have a lack of money or too much money, but you always have a money problem. And so, you just deal with it.
Yeah. Right.
You just deal with it.
Yeah. I was just talking to one of my guests yesterday, actually, and he was saying, you really haven't been through the mill and you don't know what you're doing in multifamily until you've had a fire, a death, or someone has sued you. So those 3 things you have to go through before you really make it as a landlord, and particularly multifamily.
A quick side story. You mentioned a death. I certainly had the fire. Uh-huh. I think everybody gets a fire. That's almost like the freebie that's thrown in, right? So I had a 40-unit apartment at one time. I don't have it anymore. I sold it. But I had a 40-unit apartment building that was kind of in a rougher, sketchier area. I would call it a C- area. It was actually in a good location. It's just that pocket was a poor area because there was a lot of drug activity and trafficking that was going on, and the police constantly patrolled the streets, but it would just cause people to disappear, like cockroaches for a brief period of time, and then they'd all come back out. So it was impossible to get rid of the problem. And I didn't know how bad the problem was going into this deal, but I ended up closing on this apartment complex. Anyway, it wasn't too much longer after that I was trying to get these people away. I was securing the door. I was doing everything I could. I even had a live 24/7 guard that was at the property just to keep the riffraff out. But I remember the day I got the phone call from my property manager, and she tells me that someone was just shot right in front of my building. It was a drive-by shooting, and it was like,
no.
Oh, really? How's the person doing? She had no clue. They were just rushed to the hospital. So to this day, I still don't know if they survived. But so it could have been a death. I don't know. Hopefully it wasn't. But, you mentioned death, fire and a death. Well, I forgot about that story, but you just reminded me of it. Yeah, there was a shooting right in front of my property. And so things happen, right?
You're right. Yeah. Well, so coming back to this tipping point, there is a tipping point there, but you probably don't really feel it until you're actually beyond that tipping point, where you can look back and you go, yeah, that was the tipping point there. And looking back on that tipping point, what has changed in you, or has anything really changed in you?
Good question. I think two things. I think I've become a little bit more empathetic. I now have a new perspective at looking at other people, and this happens all the time, where I am having a conversation with a person, or I'll meet a person at a party, and it just crosses my mind that I'm thinking, we all judge. The reality is we're not necessarily judgmental, but we all judge. When we meet someone, there's the first few seconds where you get a first impression of someone. And then as you have conversations, you start to like the person more or not. You build relationships by having conversation and asking questions. And so as you're having conversations with people, you start to size them up. Not in a negative way, but you just size up the person because you want to know, hey, can this person help me? Can I help that person? Do we think alike? Are we like-minded? Because, hey, if we can work together, we'll have fun and we can grow together, because you're always looking for other people who are like-minded. But I've come to find out, and we all know this, it just, you realize it at some point in time in life that, whoever you're talking to is either doing better than you or not doing better than you. And the empathy thing I was telling you about is that often I realize that I am doing better than many of the people I talk to. And I have to I purposely do this. I curb myself. I purposely don't brag or talk about the things I'm doing or own or have accomplished unless they ask me and they're pulling it out of me because they're genuinely curious. They become a student and I become a teacher or mentor, and they want to know. Otherwise, I really just hold back and I don't talk about the things that I'm doing or the things I'm buying or the properties I'm investing in. I've just become empathetic because I realize that not everybody is as motivated as I am or will be as successful as maybe you or I. And so I just kind of put myself in their shoes, and I don't feel sorry for them, but I feel for them. And if I see the door open where I can help them by providing them some guidance or financial advice or whatever, if they want it, I will. But I've just become more sensitive and empathetic to the people around, because the reality is that there's a lot of successful people, but there's a lot more people who are not as successful as you are, or not as successful as they want to be. Not that they don't want to be, and sometimes it's not for a lack of trying. So that's how it's changed me. I've just become sensitive and empathetic to other people and the stage of life that they are in. That's the big one. That's really the big one. If there was a second one, I'm not sure what it would be, but I'm sure it's changed me in so many other ways. Oh, contributing in time, even just giving back. I believe it or not, I actually love helping other people and teaching them. Because I just study finance and investing so much, I I really enjoy talking about it and giving people guidance, and then watching the light bulb go on in their head, where they say, oh, I never thought about that, or yeah, that makes a lot of sense, or you're right, I really should not be putting a bunch of money in a savings account in the bank because I'm actually getting a negative real rate of return because inflation is eating away the purchasing power. It's like, oh yeah. I love when people light up and they say, holy crap, that makes a lot of sense.
Right. Well, I expect a lot of those qualities were there within you, but like you have said, becoming financially independent has allowed you to actually allow these things that were probably already a part of who you are to actually blossom and to grow, along with the time freedom, along with the financial freedom, along with that lack of having to worry about where that next paycheck is coming from. Yeah, I expect it was always there. It's just been able to blossom.
Yeah, I think it was, and it had a lot to do with my upbringing. But it's the analogy of being drunk. If you really want to see more of the type of person a person is, get them drunk, and more often than not, you'll see the real person that they are.
I've never thought of that. But I've not been around drunk people that often, so
probably a good thing.
Yeah, probably. Well, what are your goals, aspiration for yourself, for your company?
Well, for myself is to continue doing what I'm already doing. I've made the decision I've been building the company's brand for so long that my brand has just been only growing because I've been spending the time building Norada, specifically Norada Real Estate Investments as a company and as a brand. I made the decision this year to actually shift that focus. I've been listening to people like Gary Vaynerchuk, Grant Cardone, who I know, a few other people, and I've been thinking about the question: should I be building the brand as myself, or should I be building myself as a brand, or should I be focused on the company? And there's no wrong answer. I've come to discover there's no right or wrong. It's just really how you want to go about it. So I made the decision to actually focus more on building my own personal brand, and from that, that platform that I'm teaching and sharing, my life or my financial information, investing tips, and whatever it is, that I can build these other brands like Norada Real Estate Investments, because there are other companies that, I'm partner in and I'm involved in, maybe not the day-to-day operations, but it would be good if I can also, drive people who are interested into those directions to help them, whether it be, an education company or an online program, or investing capital not into real estate but other investments and other businesses, things that I'm already doing. I can do that from a personal brand platform. So that is one of the big decisions I've made for this year, even though we're in the middle of the year. And so you asked, what my goals are. That's one of the big goals that I have for this year. And of course, it's trying to spend more time with family. Unfortunately, we can't go anywhere, or not easily, because of, the whole coronavirus thing going on. And I'm not sure how you're faring with it all, but, we did want to go on a family vacation, but now we're kind of just stuck. So, we're at home. Well, I'm not at home. I'm in my office, but we're at home.
Well, it's a good time to spend more time with family.
It forces you to.
Yeah, of course.
There's a good and a bad. It's a double-edged sword, because for a lot of families who are not used to spending so much time together, cooped up in the same house, who knows what that's going to lead to. I mean, there are theories that it's going to lead to an increase in the divorce rate, and at the same time, an echo boom, baby boom, with people spending more time at home. There's a little more time to have, some adult fun, and, we might see a wave of babies coming along in like 9 to 12 months. Who knows? But
yeah, it truly has been a double-edged sword in many ways. I know that the domestic violence centers have had a huge increase contacts and calls, and so for those families who haven't been getting along to start with, it's just making the problems worse. And those families who have a foundation, I think a lot of them have enjoyed the time, and they haven't had together for a long time. So yeah. Well, Marco, it's always fascinating visiting with you, and You have so much to share. Tell us once again, our viewers and listeners, how they can get in touch with you. Norada Real Estate Investments is your company, so they can find that online. But be a little more specific.
Well, there's two places that you can find my contact information, as well as all the free resources, articles, downloadable guides, the podcast, and all the other stuff. So I appreciate you asking, Alan. So the two websites are simple. It's noradarealestate.com, Norada, noradarealestate.com. The sister website is the home of the podcast called passiverealestateinvesting.com. Interestingly enough, I may have mentioned this on your last show. It is turning into a book, like a full-fledged book that will be released. And I'm giving it away for free as well, so you can download it or you can get a paperback version of it if that's what you prefer. But all you have to do is just subscribe on either one of those websites, and then an email notification will go out when it's finally published.
Sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, as before, it has been a pleasure, Marco, and thank you for being back on the show again.
Thank you for joining us on Creekside Chats with Successful Real Estate Investors, brought to you by Steed Talker Capital. For more information, as well as access to our free ebook on enhancing your well-being through real estate investing, be sure to connect with us at steedtalker.com. As part of our efforts to make the world a better place, Steed Talker Capital contributes to activities and organizations committed to better understand the equine and enhance the humane treatment of horses worldwide. Steed Talker Capital, working for a world where all creatures, great and small, flourish abundantly. Connect with us at steedtalker.com.